Dan and Amy, as Mike Scott was reporting, Dennis Rodman making his way from Beijing to Pyongyang.
He has landed in Pyongyang.
All right, fantastic. And he's the only American to visit with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, face to face.
And also the only American to be outacted by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Apparently some people are reporting that Dennis Rodman has a message with him from President Trump that he'll be delivering, whether it's a written letter or so. Well, Dennis Rodman is friends with both President Trump and the president of North Korea.
Yeah, fast friends.
And is this a diplomatic journey? Let's ask him.
You're here just as a private citizen. Have you spoken to President Trump at all?
Well, I'm pretty sure he's pretty much happy at the fact that I'm over here trying to accomplish something that we both need.
And what are you trying to accomplish, sir?
It's trying to open the door. Just open the door, that's it.
We're just trying to open the door for what? For dialogue between the two?
For potcoin.com, which was the T-shirt he was wearing when he arrived in Beijing.
Because they're sponsoring his trip. And last time he went, a gambling group from Ireland sponsored his trip. But last time he...
But it's not because he needs the money.
Oh, no. Well, you need a sponsor. Everybody needs a sponsor, Dan. Come on.
No, it's because he needs the money. And I'm pretty sure, Trump is happy. No, the administration's ecstatic. The State Department is over the moon that Dennis Rodman is going to open up Pyongyang for them. Give me a break.
Well, you never know. Last time he came back from his trip, he brought 10 of his buddies. They had a game, an intramural game that they played in North Korea for Kim Jong-un's birthday. But a lot of people, he came under attack for being friends with a dictator.
Let me do this. Really, I'm going to tell you one thing. People around the world, I'm going to do one thing. You guy behind the mic right now, we are the guys here doing one thing. We have to go back to America and take the abuse. Do you have to take the abuse? Well, we're going to take it. Do you, sir? Let me know. Are you going to take that bitch? We're going to get it. But guess what, though?
I think it's more likely that Rodman will get a role in Double Team, the sequel, than he will in the Interview sequel and try and get some of that sweet Seth Rogen, James Franco money. So let's try and have a serious geopolitical discussion about some of these national security matters. Joined by our friend Jed Babbin, of course, former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, as well as now a contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, do you see Dennis Rodman potentially a future U.S. ambassador to the UN?
Well, I'll tell you what, he couldn't do any worse there than some we've had, like Samantha Power.
Yes.
But I think Mr. Rodman needs to speak in sentences before he can be an ambassador anywhere. I just don't see that there's a lot of room in our diplomatic service for people who can't form a simple declarative sentence, for God's sake.
Yeah, but have you seen him rebound? He's got that
well,
going for him.
He's a cool basketball player. I got no problem with that. He's got all the money in the world. No problem with that either. And, more power to him. But, being an ambassador, I just can't begin to say how bad an idea that is.
Well, do you think it's a possibility that he's carrying a message from President Trump, who previously had praised his efforts to engage North Korea?
Well, I wouldn't put anything beyond the possibility, these days, but I think that's pretty much unlikely. I would suspect that Mr. Trump can find a better ambassador, pretty much anybody, to go to North Korea. Yeah. But the point is, what do we want to have an ambassador to North Korea for anyway? The only message we could be carrying is go ahead and make my day.
Well, so maybe Clint Eastwood is available.
Well, okay. I mean, he's a little old, but that's fine. I mean, Clint is probably a better ambassador than, about 99% of our diplomatic corps anyway. But the real problem here, North Korea is not susceptible of diplomacy. They are not susceptible of any peaceful solution. And somebody is going to have to go in there eventually and, take his nuclear weapons and missiles away. This is not going to end peacefully, folks. There is no way it's going to end peacefully with Kim Jong-un.
You don't think it's going to end? You don't think that'll be this kind of stasis that we've had now, both with his father and now him over the last, several years?
No, because every time we've done that, we've gone in there and paid them money and given them things, and they've said, oh, yeah, we're going to quit our nuclear development or we're going to quit our missile development, and of course they always lie. So what they're doing is getting bribes to continue doing what they're doing. And, fortunately, I think Secretary Mattis and the president have said, I'm not playing that game anymore. So, really, the question of whether we can get China to do anything to stop North Korea, the answer to that is most likely no. And then the other choice is, well, I hate to say it, guys, but there is going to be a war there, and it's going to be very big, and it's going to be very ugly.
Really?
It's going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands of people.
When do you see this happening?
Well, and also,
I don't know.
And also, what form? I mean, do you think this is going to be just a continuation of their nuclear program and the flouting of international sanctions, or is it going to be a strike against South Korea?
Well, it's going to be all of the above if we don't get to the point where we are prepared to act instantly. But I don't think we're going to be prepared in that matter. And, the fact is there could be a launch of a missile that appears, not necessarily would reach the United States, appears that it would be able to, in which case we'd have to either shoot the missile down and then counterattack, or there would be something else happen. I mean, Lord only knows. This guy is capable of anything. Again, unless the Chinese bring him to rein, bring him in, this is going to happen at some point. When? I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Wow. Isn't there a military defense system set up in South Korea on our bases there?
There's tons of them. But the fact is, right now, we've got the South Korean president say, their new president, President Moon, has said he wanted to stop the deployment of the THAAD system, the Terminal High Altitude Air Defense System, a anti-missile system that would protect not only South Korea but our troops there. I think we've got 38,000 troops there. Basically, he said, "Well, yeah, I'm going to stop it," and then he said, "Well, maybe not." So I don't know what the status is, but there are a lot of systems there to protect people. We can go into all the military hardware, and it's not really productive for us to do so right now because it takes too long, gets into the weeds too far. But the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of things to be done about their artillery, about their missiles, and so forth. However, you've got to be on alert. You've got to be prepared to do it, and you've got to be pretty much have your finger on the trigger, saying, "Okay, if they start shooting, we're going to shoot a lot back." So I don't know that we're at that stage yet.
I want to turn to Russia and not the Russian collusion investigation, but what's happening in Russia, in the motherland. Protests, tens of thousands rallying against Putin in support of his opposition leader, somebody who's trying to challenge Putin for supremacy in Russia. I doubt that will go well since Alexei Navalny is now in prison for 30 days for the crime of improperly filling out a permit. But what do you make of the opposition and the rallying in Moscow this week? Is that in any way portend a weakness in Putin's authoritarian control of that country?
I don't think, not when you put it that way. I don't think it's going to weaken his authoritarian control at this stage. But I think what it does remark about, number one, is the obvious lack of freedom in Russia, which we've known about since, Peter the Great in the 18th century. But the point really comes down to Putin's economy is kind of wobbly. And don't forget the fall in the price of oil. It keeps going down and up and up and down. But it's right now, I think, about $50 a barrel. And the Russian economy can't be sustained at that kind of a price. So the problem with Putin is, he's got a lot of ambitions. He's still at war in Ukraine, but he does not have an economy to support all of this. So there's going to be shortages. There's going to be people in the streets, as there are now, and it's going to weaken him. To what degree? Probably not a great degree, but at some point, there are going to be more and more of these things go on, and there's going to be more pressure on Putin to stop going outside Russia to just declare war.
Well, how do you think that'll affect his relationship with President Trump?
Not one bit. I don't think it's going to happen soon enough for it to do so. I think we're looking 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road before that happens.
How do you think?
I don't think that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How do you think it's going to affect his relationship with Megyn Kelly? More importantly,
did you watch that interview?
No, I made a point of not doing that. I made a point of not watching the Comey hearing, and I'm going to make an absolute effort, to my best of my ability, to not watch the Jeff Sessions hearing.
Really? Why not?
Because
you don't like political theater?
No, why not?
It's political theater. That's all it is. I mean, number one, I've got better things to do. And, number two, it doesn't enlighten us as to anything. Just seeing Jeff Sessions, I got to know him a little bit a number of years ago when I was the editor of Human Events. And he's a very straight shooter. I mean, there is no straighter shooter than Jeff Sessions, and he's an honest man. He's a very strong conservative, and watching him, playing word games with Al Franken or whoever the heck is going to be their designated hitter this time. I mean, it just does not seem to me to be a fruitful use of my time.
Yeah, it is unnerving. I grant you that. He is Jed Babbin, former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, and now a contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.